Well, guys, Carolina Jackpot coming at you. It is January 20th, 2020, 1/20/20. Happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody out there. Bet a lot of you is off work today. I wasn't. Getting in kind of late. I wanted to make this video. I've been wanting to make it for about a week or so now. Just a recap of the 2019 college football season and some predictions that I made and how those predictions turned out. I think probably the biggest surprise this year had to be not the fact that LSU ended up being a really good football team and win the national championship. I don't think that was out of the realm of possibility that people thought that could happen, especially with the changes on offense they brought in and all the talent they had coming back. But it was just the rise of one Joe Burrow, Jose Barrose. 61 touchdowns this year, 6 interceptions. Man, win the Heisman Trophy. Just a storybook season for that young man. And I don't think that he was not on anybody's Heisman Trophy radar back in August. And if you say that he was, you're lying. He was not. I mean, I thought that LSU's offense was going to be better because of the NFL presence of one Joe Brady coming in to help with the offense. I figured that they would be better, and they had some skilled players coming back at the receiver and running back positions. I had no idea that what was going to happen with him actually took place. So that would be my biggest surprise of the year. Biggest disappointing team of the year was one that I did a preview on that I'm not going to recap here, Nebraska. I mean, this team, a lot of people thought would go 9-3. Some said 10-2. Win the Big 12 or Big 10 West. Some people said an outside shot at the college football playoffs. Maybe playoffs. They finished 5-7. I mean, it's a terrible record. Their quarterback Adrian Martinez took a huge step backwards in his second season in Lincoln. So yeah, they got some work to do there. I think Miami was another huge disappointment. Finished up with a 6-7 record. I think a lot of folks expected them to win the ACC Coastal. I didn't, but I thought that they would have a better record than what they did. Man alive, they just totally bombed out. And today they come out with an announcement that D'Eriq King, quarterback from the Houston Cougars, is transferring there, and he'll play his final season in Miami. And Hurricane fans from I don't know, all over the globe are just up in arms about it, man. They think it's the greatest thing in the world. D'Eriq King is all of a sudden the best thing since sliced bread. Let me tell you something. Got to have an offensive line and some skill position players around him if he's going to be any good. That's all I got to say. He ain't going to win the ACC Coastal by himself. I mean, Tate Martell was a very highly touted prospect coming in after transferred from Ohio State. I mean, and they got a garbage. I mean, and it wasn't all him. I mean, he just not a good system. So they got some improvement to do there. Of course, my Gamecocks, we're not going to talk about him today much in this video, but I mean, a major disappointment, regardless of what you thought the final record would be. 4-8 was a horrible record, and my worst case scenario prediction of 4-8 did come true. It did come to pass. However, the wins and losses came in a little bit different form than what I thought they would come in. I said in my worst case scenario video that even at worst case scenario, there's no way they're losing to UNC. Guess what? They lost to UNC. I did not have them beating Georgia. Definitely in my worst case scenario video. And in my best case scenario video, I did say of the 3 big teams that they play, the big, real elite top contenders, Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia, that Georgia would be the one they would be most likely to knock off because of the style of offense they play. And guess what happened? South Carolina knocked them off because of the style of offense they play, because it's not difficult to decipher. They lined up, they stopped it. They read it like a book. And anybody that wants to say it was a fluke, blah, blah, all this garbage, you can go piss up a rope, because it happened. It did. But on the flip side, I kind of wish it didn't. I kind of wish it didn't, because if it hadn't, I think Will Muschamp would have been fired. at the end of the season. I truly do. I think that's what saved his job was the win over Georgia. And when it all comes down to it, it really didn't mean a hill of shit. I mean, it really didn't do anything for us. But, I mean, recruiting hasn't really dropped off. You would expect some decommitments and some unrest, but I mean, things are still going smooth on that front. So I guess props to Muschamp for that, for keeping things together on the recruiting front. Getting into these teams, I'm going to go over 6 teams real quick that I did prediction videos on back in the summer and see how I ended up turning out after the season was all said and done. First off, we're going to travel back in time, get in the Carolina Jackpot time machine, shut it up around yourself, strap your seatbelt in, and we're going to go back in time to August 14th, 2019, and the Georgia Bulldogs. Let's see what Carolina Jackpot had to say about how his team will finish.
We look that out entirely, the schedule, I'm putting you at 12-0. I mean, I don't feel like I'm going out on a limb here. Vegas has you at 11 wins. Some places it's 11.5. I'm putting you at 12-0. I mean, some of these games here are possible slip-ups. Now I even put a watch on this one. I mean, Notre Dame is a talented team. I mean, it could happen if you really play badly. The South Carolina losing to them is it's not likely. But
but it did.
Florida in Jacksonville and on the road at Auburn, to me, are the 2 places where you stand the most chance of slipping up.
But you didn't. So Jackpot predicted you to go 12-0 in the regular season, but then I actually cut that off before I reneged on that 12-0 prediction, and I said that I thought that you might lose to Texas A&M because you'd be worn out from the stretch of Florida and then Auburn on the road. No, that didn't happen. No, but you didn't play real well in that game either. But finished up the regular season 11-1, so I was 1 game off. Of course, you lost to my Gamecocks. We've already covered that ad nauseum. And you did end up in Atlanta in the SEC championship game. And, by saying that you didn't look good is an understatement. You looked awful. Looked like you just didn't even care to show up for the game. So Georgia next year, I mean, where do they land? No, Jake Fromm's not going to be there anymore. You're replacing DeAndre Swift. Shouldn't be a problem. The wide receiver position and all that. Offensive line, you had 1 transfer out. You lost some for the NFL. Going to be interesting to see. Georgia's recruited really, really well under Kirby Smart, so you think they won't miss a beat, but then again, you never know. Who'd have thought you'd have lost to South Carolina, right? Who'd have thunk it? Moving on down the road, LSU. Did a preview on them, and for this one, the Carolina Jackpot time machine going to have to go all the way back to June the 7th of 2019, and old Jack had some pretty nice things to say about them LSU Tigers.
Yeah. And that leaves us at 11-1. I think that is doable, and LSU, you've been a team that's kind of underwhelmed a little bit, not really so much last year, but in 2016, 17, even back to 2015, you kind of failed to live up to expectations a little bit. This year, I'll look for a lot more from you guys. I'm thinking that you could be in Atlanta for the SEC championship game if you can take care of business against Alabama. That's what it's going to take. All right, guys.
Good stuff there from back in June. Pretty fair assessment from Carolina Jackpot, and hit the nail on the head pretty much. They did take care of business against Alabama. Didn't really have a problem with them, and cruised through the regular season with a 12-0 record. I had no idea. I thought they could go undefeated. I had no idea that they would blow every team that they played out the way they did, that their offense would set the kind of records that it had. I mean, just who would have known? Who would have known that? Jackpot. Pretty good prediction there on those old LSU Tigers. We'll see how they turn out next year. They're losing a lot of talent off that team, and I do mean a lot of talent. Next team I want to talk about is my favorite team, my neighbors from up here in the upstate of South Carolina, those old, mangy Clemson Tigers. And we know how their season ended up. No real surprise to a lot of people that they lost that national championship game once they saw who they were going to be matched up with, which was LSU. People felt Clemson would be overmatched a little bit, and that did prove to be the case. Most of the time, in Vegas, when you see money coming in on a team really hot and heavy the way it was coming in on LSU, they were saying that game was the stuff. It was coming in on LSU, the likes of the way it was coming in on Floyd Money Mayweather in the Conor McGregor fight from several years ago. They hadn't seen such a one-sided betting thing, and usually when Vegas is really heavy one way, it's smart to bet the opposite way. But not in this case, because all the sharps were betting on LSU. They were taking LSU, and if you don't know what that is, and you've been living under a rock, I'll explain it to you. The sharps are the people who they bet for a living. That's what they do. They pay their bills. They pay their car payment by gambling. So when they start to make those kind of picks, it's kind of smart to go with the sharp money there on that one. But at any rate, Clemson. Gave him a lot of respect in my preseason video, which, for me, it is tough to do sometimes, but you got to call a spade, and they had a very good football team going into this year. They proved that out throughout the regular season and into the playoffs, and let's see what old Jackpot had to say back on June 3rd about those old Clemson Tigers and how that regular season might finish out.
You're either finishing 12-0 or 11-1, and quite frankly, you could lose a game somewhere else on the schedule, but I just don't see it. I mean, you lost in 2016 to Pittsburgh on that one particular Saturday late in the year, but I don't, and when we looked at the schedule that year, I looked at that, I knew Pittsburgh had a decent team coming back. I didn't think they were probably going to beat you, but I think had a decent team coming back. I don't see anybody on this schedule of that level. I mean, that could beat you at home or what. In your conference, I really just don't. I don't see it. A lot of people give you guys a grief about the schedule you play and whatnot, but I mean, honestly, you're playing South Carolina out of conference, which you play every year, and you do have Texas A&M on the schedule, and that is I do think they're overrated, but they're an upper level SEC team. They're we've got probably 3 tiers of teams in the SEC, and I would say they're somewhere near the top of that second tier.
Pretty accurate on that prediction of 12-0 for the Clemson Tigers. Of course, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to come up with that prediction with the team that they had coming back and the schedule they were playing. And I was right when I said that you could be 11-1. You dang near almost were. Almost lost that game to UNC. But they didn't. They did what good teams do, and were able to pull it out. Of course, Clemson not able to win the national championship this year, but don't cast them away because they will be coming back next year. Got a lot of skill position talent coming, a lot of young defensive talent rising to the occasion, and I look for Clemson to be back there in that national championship game, most likely again in 2020. Sorry, I had a snack from QT today that was repeating on me. Tennessee Vols. I have a love-hate relationship with this team, mostly hate. South Carolina had ridden a 3-game winning streak against them into this year, albeit hadn't played our best games against them. And the Vols were subject of a Carolina Jackpot pick and prediction video back on July the 30th of 2019. They were a dark horse team on a lot of people's lists, possibly one that could possibly challenge for the SEC East, possibly challenge Georgia. Let's see what Carolina Jackpot had to say on the subject back on old July the 30th.
So going with what we've got now, that will put you at 7-5 on the season. Vegas is saying 6.5 wins. And I'm saying you go over that number. I think that Tennessee is going to exceed the 6.5 win total that Vegas has set for you. And I think that you're going to make a bowl game this year. Now, it's not going to be, we're not talking New Year's Six material or anything like that, but I think that you could be in one of those, the low to mid-tier bowls the SEC teams get into, maybe a Gator Bowl type thing,
nailed it.
Situation, Music City Bowl, something
So not
like
only
that.
did Carolina Jackpot accurately predict the final regular season record for the Tennessee Vols, the first bowl game that Carolina Jackpot mentioned that they could possibly go to was the one that they indeed went to. Now, if you look at my game-by-game breakdown there, the 7-5 didn't come the way that I thought it would. Certainly, nobody had you losing to Georgia State, and if you did notice on that, I had put a watch on that BYU game. A lot of people they thought they discounted that when I said, Tennessee will take care of them. BYU not any good. Blah, 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 blah. Those people they don't know college football and they haven't been watching. BYU is a perennial bowl team, tough, disciplined, and I had a good feeling that they would take down Tennessee, and they did. But you end up 7-5, and I think the future's bright for Tennessee. They are a team that I could see possibly moving solidly into the third position in the SEC East in 2020. I could really see that. I could see you going 9-3 this year. Haven't really looked your schedule over that hard, but just knowing what you got coming back and knowing what kind of momentum that you finished 2019 with, I don't think it would be a stretch to say that the Vols could come up with that and possibly even upset Georgia or Florida on the way down the line in the 2020 season. Tennessee Vols got a good football program up there on Rocky Top. I kind of thought that Jeremy Pruitt might not make it after that first year, but he's turned things around quite a bit and got people believing in him. Now, can he sustain it? That's the question. Can he sustain it? August the 6th, Carolina Jackpot went to the well again with another team that wears orange. This time it was the mighty Virginia Cavaliers of the ACC Coastal. And this was a team that a lot of people had predicted to win the ACC Coastal going into the season, and they did just that. They ended up in the ACC championship game against the Clemson Tigers. Of course, not their best showing there, but Carolina Jackpot did a preview and breakdown on them, and not my most watched video. Not a lot of people interested in Virginia for some reason, but I was very intrigued by them, especially after the fact that they thumped my team 28-0 in the Belt Bowl at the end of the 2018 season. So I had a little bit of something vested in it. I did a prediction video on Virginia. Let's see how that one turned out.
Kind of record, you're kind of a little bit new to success. So I'm going to put you at 9-3. That still puts you over the Vegas guys. 2019 Virginia Cavaliers. If you're betting the smart money with Carolina Jackpot, I say bet the over on that 7.5 wins. I mean, you just look up and down this thing.
Look at Carolina Jackpot kicking that
really
New Jersey shirt.
Games that they're going to lose. I mean, it just really is.
Your boy with another spot on prediction of 9-3. That's exactly what they finished the regular season. Now, in that one, some of the games I predicted them to lose. I predicted them to get upset at home by Florida State, which they didn't. I did not predict them to lose to Miami. Notre Dame was a game that they lost that I had predicted for them to lose, and I had predicted them to get upset by UNC. That didn't happen either. They ended up losing to Louisville, and they lost to Miami. So that's the way that one turned out. But pretty good prediction there on the Virginia Cavaliers. I did have them in the ACC championship game against Clemson, which is exactly what happened with them. Last one I want to talk about, the team from Tallahassee, Florida, the Florida State Seminoles. You'll have to get back in the time machine and go way back, further than any of these, back to June the 5th, 2019, and see what Carolina Jack had to say about the tribe headed up by Chief Osceola.
8 wins here. 8 wins. 3 losses, and a toss-up. So, I mean, wouldn't you take an 8-4 record? I mean, I would. I mean, that would be huge for you guys. Improving from 5-7 to 8-4. And depending on how that Syracuse game goes, you could finish up 9-3.
Well, I don't guess that we can be 100% accurate. Yeah, that prediction kind of fell short a little bit of what I expected from Florida State. Expected better things from them in 2019. Of course, we know all about what happened. Willie Taggart fired 3/4 of the way through the season after the loss to the Miami Hurricanes. He just, I think not necessarily a bad guy, not a bad football coach. I think he just was in over his head there with that position, and wish nothing but luck for him in the future with his job down at Florida Atlantic. Taking over from Lane Kiffin, and I think Mike Norvell will eventually get the ship righted at Tallahassee. I think he's the guy to do it. He's a good coach, a good young coach, and looking forward to them making some waves in the ACC Atlantic, and somebody challenging Clemson over on that side of the division. But once again, Carolina Jackpot falling short on that one. They ended up 6-7 on the season. To me, it seems like they lost more than 7 games for whatever reason, but they weren't. They did make a bowl game, and so there's that. Guys, I want to thank you for watching this video. It's kind of drawing 2019 to a close. A lot of stuff happened that we didn't expect. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of disappointments, a lot of good times, a lot of good stuff. I enjoyed making these videos. If you enjoyed this one, please hit it with a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the Carolina Jackpot channel. We're going to do as many college football videos here and as what is humanly possible. And I'm looking forward to a good 2020 season. Of course, we'll still be around doing our lottery ticket, scratch ticket videos, maybe some blogs, maybe some eating on the go, some food taste tests, reviews, all that good stuff. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I do appreciate it. I haven't made a video in a few days. I experienced a loss on Friday. A family member, not one in the traditional sense, but still. A part of my family passed away on Friday evening, way too soon, and making these videos and getting my mind off that is very therapeutic for me. So once again, I want to appreciate, thank you, each and every one of you, for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace, and I'm out. Go Gamecocks. Spurs up. Tomatoes up, baby. Woo! Fire. Boom.